Everybody, peace. Welcome to the Sorry to Bother You show. Wherever or however you're listening, we're so grateful to have you here with us. As I know, I'm Sean Cottle, and I'm joined here as usual by the amazing, the wonderful Mr. Fantastic himself, Dre Pennington.
What up, y'all? How we doing? How we doing? Whew.
Dre, good
Sean,
morning.
how we feeling, man? How we doing? How we feeling?
I feel fantastic. It's 1 o'clock over here in Germany. The sun is out. The birds are chirping, man. It's Saturday. It's my
T-
off
t- t-
day.
See,
Good.
that's a good one. That's the one I was looking for right there. It's my off day. I need this.
Hey, now that the season's over, I'm gonna spend a lot more time relaxing and recovering and not putting stress on my body, man. So I'm
Yeah.
how you feeling, Dre? How you feeling, brother?
Feeling good. It's been a rough week working, but Saturday, like you said, Saturday off day, and I'm here with some good people, man. So I'm always gonna be feeling good.
Yeah, okay. Oh, well, we should introduce our special guest. Guys, for those of you listening, uh we got a very special guest today, Mr. Ryan Spinello. He is one of the best personal trainers in the DMV area, currently at Liberty University, getting his bachelor's degree, and has already created one of the most, in my opinion, the most diverse and nuanced training companies that he's created himself. So, Ryan, welcome to the show, man.
Man, I appreciate it, man. That intro is better than I deserve. That's awesome, man. I appreciate it. But yeah, I'm super happy to be on here. Yeah, like you said, I'm kind of been training for a couple of years now, trying to figure things out. But
Mhm.
um, it's been an awesome journey. Like it was back in 2020 I started training. And it's cool to see kind of where we are now. It's taken a lot of twists and turns, but I'm glad to be part of the training business, getting people better.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Ryan, I'm sure you've listened to our show before, and because we're going to dive into all of your background and the journey you've taken to get to this point. Before we get started, though, me and Dre like to do a little check-in on each other and our guests. So,
Yeah,
we'll,
man.
we'll just check in on you first, Ryan. How you feeling physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, man? How are you feeling?
I think like physically, I'm doing pretty well. I'm preparing for a Murph in a month or two. I don't know if y'all have heard of that, but it's like this intense like military workout.
Nice.
Um, it's like a mile run and then 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, and 300 squats, and then another mile run. So it
Oh,
takes a lot out of you. But I've been doing that. I did a workout a lot like it yesterday, so
Mhm.
definitely a little bit worn down from that. But physically, like I'm excited to be able to do stuff like that. Um, Mentally, emotionally, doing well, man. Can't complain at all. Um, yeah, doing great. Yeah. Just the mental toll of school, like we were talking off the air, was like that's getting to me. I got my last 2 weeks of school, but I'm trying to finish it up. So I'd say like we're getting pretty close there, but definitely there's a toll mentally. Um, and then spiritually, man, doing great. Like God's good. I've been diving into the Word and kind of learning more about Him and just trying to know Him more, know Him better. So obviously, I can always improve in that area. I want to know Him better. Want to know Him better every day. But I'm thankful for my relationship with Him and where it's at right now.
Well said, brother. Well said, man. And like you said, the senioritis is a real thing, man. 2 weeks left.
oh my God.
And so,
So I was gonna say, man, those final 2 weeks, that push is ridiculous, especially last year. You just don't feel like doing it.
mhm.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. I never realized it until now. I was like, yeah, senioritis, whatever. But no, it's real.
No, it's a real thing, man.
Yeah.
Definitely. Um, Dre, how you feeling, man? Mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually?
Mentally, at an 8, the week has been trying me a little bit, figuring it out. But like I said, here around some good people, really, really excited for this. So yeah, I'm gonna say an 8. Spiritually, I'm always gonna be a 10. God's always got me. Man, I can't thank him enough. I would say that. And then physically. I'm at about a seven. Guys, I've been on the road. We've been on the road a lot.
Mhm.
Ridiculous. So, haven't been able to hit that weight room as much. So, feel a little off. Not gonna lie to you. We played a little basketball, Kashan, and I almost died. And I was like, that's unusual.
Really?
Bro, it was ridiculous. It's crazy.
But
My leg,
Dre, you're
you
still
know how
six
you get
four,
the
two
Bambi legs? That's
five.
what it was.
No, no, no. You're still 6'4", 225, solid muscle, man. So you're not gonna.
Woo. Trying to get to that 225. So I'm trying to get there. But man, I had the Bambi legs hooping, bro. It was crazy.
Mm. But you never lose the rhythm, though, right? You never lose the touch, though.
Not as much, but you kind of lose the touch from just not playing as much every day.
Oh.
So it happened to me finally. So I don't know. It was weird. It was weird. But how about you, Kashan? Spiritually, mentally, physically, how are we feeling?
No, spiritually, I love what Ryan said, that it's a continuous process, continuous growth, man, and you get better every day, and it's never as good as it can be. And when people hear that, people think that it's like a daunting task and that it's hard or difficult, but it just means that there's always room for improvement, man. And like it says in scripture, man, it says the path is a light thing. So, our walk with God is not meant to be
Hmm.
difficult or meant to be really like I said, daunting or strenuous, but it's a slow, steady progression, man. And when we take that approach, it does ease a lot of our stress and our tension, man. So I really love what Ryan said about that. And that's kind of space I am too. I'm in there too. So it's a continuous day by day process, but like enjoying that process of getting stronger, growing in the word day by day. And
Hmm.
physically, I feel great, man. Like I said, it's my off day and off season is about to start up. So I'm gonna take a couple weeks off to rest and mentally, physically recover. And then you already know back to the off season grind mode, man. And
It's a never-ending cycle.
every new cycle. And mentally, I feel great. I am being intentional about like separating. 'Cause a lot of times we're always connected to something, whether it be like social media or just, watching
Hmm.
something. Our brain is always moving. And so that dopamine is always trying to be activated. And so it causes us to burn out quicker. So I'm trying to be more intentional about like when I do have downtime, like not doing anything, like not watching TV, not watching movies, like really just sitting and being like present.
Yeah.
I've that's allowed me to be more sharp in my day-to-day activities, and it also allows me to actually recover. Like we think we're recovering because we're not doing anything, or just because we're, not active, but our brain is still moving, and so like our brain never really has time to really sit down and decompress. So really being intentional about separating and being still, man. But I feel great though.
I'm glad to hear that, bro.
Yeah, yeah. But enough about me, man. Listen, we got an amazing, amazing person on the show, man. Ryan, like I said, Ryan. So for those who don't know, man, just tell us a little bit, just a little bit about yourself, man. Talk to us.
Yeah, I think it kind of all starts from when I was playing basketball when I was younger because I was the smallest kid on my teams. I would like I loved basketball so much. Like it was my whole life. I would play so much, like way too much sometimes. I'd totally burn myself out. But you guys know it's just like when you love the sport, when you love the game, like you're just gonna give it all you got. And like when I was young, I didn't know what I was doing. I was just like, I gotta go all out.
Mhm.
And but it was like really hard for me. I remember like some of my coaches, like in middle school and like the beginning of high school, they'd be like, "Man, I can't put you in because like I'm scared you're gonna get hurt out there." Because I was just like so small.
Mhm.
And like I honestly like I don't know how, but like 10th grade, I grew like 10 inches, which helped a lot. But I also had this crazy just like mindset shift in like middle school where I was like, okay, if this is gonna happen, like I gotta change something. So I started like training and I trained like really hard. And I don't know, I did not do it right at all. But I just went all out. And I was just like, I love the idea of getting better through the weight room, through getting stronger, through like finding out different movement patterns. And just the more I learned, the more I like loved it, totally loved it. Um, so that was kind of like my intro into like sports and fitness and like exercise training. Um, but I didn't like ever think of it as like something I would do until like I was going to the gym pretty consistently with like my family, my mom, my cousin. We were all going to the gym pretty consistently, and then obviously when COVID happened, everything shut down, and we were like, okay, so what are we gonna do now? That was also like the time where I was like at the peak of my competitive nature, and I was like, I need to go all out, do everything I can. So I was like, okay, I need to work out like 2 times a day. I need to go do skills training. I need to go play pickup. I need, like I was all over the place. I had the time because I was at home now, for like shutdown and everything. But um, there were people starting to come to me and be like, okay, the gyms aren't out, so like, what are we gonna do? And I was like, well, you come over here and I'll train you, and like, let me just like see what happens.
Yeah.
And like, I loved it. I just totally loved it. Like, it was even better than training myself. Like, just trying to find ways to like help other people. And like, honestly, I had no idea what I was doing, man. I was like, these are a couple things I've learned here and there, and like try to piece it together. But I didn't really know what I was doing. But like, I learned through experience and just trial and error. And like, I was like, come here and I'll train you. Like, I was training people for free. Like, if they wanted to come, they would come. And then like, I just kind of figured things out as I went. Um, and then that's how I like when I was going into college, I was like, I want to do more of this. So I went into college for exercise science. So the gym kind of took a break in there where I was like working on the business for like 2.5 years or so, where it was like really that trial and error period where I was trying to get more confidence and I was learning a lot more, starting to get some certifications and such. But I wasn't like I didn't know like a whole lot. And then I went to college for it. So I went to college for 2 years, played there,
Which college
started
was
my
this?
career. I went to Clark Summit University,
Hmm.
which is a small Christian school in Pennsylvania. So a
Okay.
little D3 team was it was a great time. So all the gym and stuff kind of like went on hold for that because I was like I wanted to play in college. So I was like I'm gonna go and then we'll come back and see what happens. But that kind of got cut off short because my school closed down this year. So
Mm.
that's why I'm finishing my last year at Liberty,
Mhm.
which has kind of been a blessing because like I've been able to come home and kind of start the business back up and start training people again, and it's been really cool to see how that's grown. And it's definitely something I never would have been able to do if I was still at school this year. So it's been cool. Like God definitely orchestrated all of that to like get me back to where I needed to be, even though it's unfortunate not to be with my friends at school for my last year and everything. Like it's really been great to be back.
Ryan, what was your immediate reaction when you found out that that Clark Summit was shutting down, man? What was your immediate response? Because I'm sure that can be a lot at one time.
Yeah. It took forever to process, man. And I don't even know if I'm fully like processed it.
Mhm.
It's still just kind of crazy to me. I was actually working at a Christian camp that whole summer.
Okay.
So I was like, it was July 1st of this last year.
Mhm.
And I had a little bit of a break for like just July 4th that weekend and everything.
Mhm.
And so I was at home and like I was like, okay, well, I gotta basically my brain works where I'm like, okay, there's a problem. I just gotta go and fix it first, and then I'll like worry about like what that means.
Yes.
So like that little break I had at home, I was like, okay, let me just find out where I'm going, and then I'll figure out what's going next. So I was like, I didn't really give myself time to be upset about it until a lot later because I was working at camp, and you're working with the kids. I was one of the counselors, so I was working with the kids like all day, every day. Didn't really have time to think about it. So I was like, didn't really give myself the time to think about it until I got home, which was um, definitely not suggested. Definitely like take your time and
Yeah.
like process through things. It's not something um, I wish anybody would have to do. Is just like kind of forget about it for a little while. But it was also like good for me not to dwell on it.
Yeah.
And then I could come back with a clear mind and be like, okay, there's a reason I'm here. There's a point for me being back here, and I kind of just took every opportunity. Got to coach basketball, got to start the gym back up, got to work at my church. So like lots of cool opportunities came out of it.
Yeah, yeah. I like what you said though about you didn't really have time to process. You had to keep going. You just had to keep moving, and that's how life is. Sometimes you gotta you
Yeah,
time to think about it. You just gotta make the next decision, man. And it's in those moments though, it's when really like the best, or not best, the most meaningful blessings come from that, man. Because it's in that moment you think like, okay, I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know how I'm gonna take care of it, man. But like you said, like God just makes a way, man, at all times, man. And I think that's the perfect representation of that, man.
yeah, for sure. For sure. Those trials, man, they test your faith and that's how we get stronger in it. So I'm glad to go through it to be able to know Christ more. So
Absolutely, absolutely. And because that's something that Dre and I talk about quite a bit, man. Like just that, like being able to make the right decisions on the fly and continuing to like kind of move forward and evolve and kind of just figure things out as you go, man. And so when it comes to your training, Ryan, because it sounds like you didn't really have a full plan at first. It
Yeah.
kind of just happened, man.
yeah.
What was that like? What was that like just moving on the fly like, mentally and just kind of like figuring things out as you go when it comes to training kids and different age groups at that?
Yeah, I, I think it was fun because I never saw it as like this had to be my career. It was just kind of something, a way I was helping people.
Mhm.
So like I love the idea of like, okay, I see this problem. I don't quite know how to fix it right now. Let me go research it. And then, like I find out everything I can about it online and then kind of put some pieces together and like I know some more for the next person. And I really love that journey of kind of adaptability. We do in the gym. We always do like words of the year. So everybody that comes to the gym, I have them like write down a word of the year, like kind of something they want to focus on. And I remember my first one, which was that year where we started the gym, was adaptability.
Mhm.
And that kind of it kind of encompasses a lot of kind of what I try to do is like have a plan, know what you're trying to do, but like when things come up and there's like a problem that you see or like an athlete comes in and they're super tired or they come in and they've hurt their ankle or something, like how are you going to adapt to that situation
Mhm.
and how are you going to still like give them something that's going to help them um, throughout the day, throughout the whatever they're going through, because like not every training session is the same, and that's something I learned really early on. Is like so many of them are so different, because like just people are different, and people, everybody's different, and everybody like depending on the day that they have, they're going to come in at different levels of energy, different mental like focus, and like you got to be ready to adapt to any situation. And that's something that I really appreciated from that like first year or so, is just learning how to adapt to those.
Mm. Okay.
Yeah. And I was gonna say, so since COVID did happen and you were kind of forced to do everything on the fly, how creative did your workouts have to become, especially with different clients and different ages?
I think working out is like like my creative outlet in a way. Like I'm not a very
Okay.
creative person where I like to like draw or like write or anything like that. But I absolutely love like being creative with movement and like how can people move better? How can people move more efficiently? And how can people have more fun with movement? Like I learned very early on that like we shouldn't be making our workouts like as basic and like boring as possible because like people aren't gonna want to come and keep working.
Mm.
I something I do that like is kind of different is I play a game with every client when we first start, and it's just something like small. It's like hard, but it's like a movement challenge. Like how are we going to be able to move in different directions and move like in different ways? It's because like in a sport like basketball, you're never going to be able to predict what's going on. You have to be able to move and adapt on the fly. So I want everybody, even if you're not an athlete, to be able to just move and be able to do different movement patterns based on the situation that they're in and how do we react and change in that. So I think I would say I try to be very creative with it. I definitely like I'm not afraid to like just throw something in there and see how it goes. Like as far whether it's a game or it's like a new drill or something like that. Obviously, I'm gonna make sure I normally test things out on myself, and I see my workouts as like experiments.
Mhm.
So I'll like test things out on myself, and then I'll test something on like somebody I that's been with me for a long time, and then I'll give it to somebody else. Um, I just see it as like an experiment of like how can we be creative as movers, and then we'll go from there. And just to like I try it on myself just to make sure it's not going to hurt anybody or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Dre. I know you had a question.
Oh no, I was just saying. I thought you were gonna say my fault.
But
Let's say so. Then with all that, I want to say, what are some differences you've noticed, like especially training young kids to teens or even like even older people than that?
Yeah, I think the thing is I'll say first is like kids can definitely train. There's like this, I don't know if you guys have heard it around, but there's like um this kind of saying out there that like it's gonna stunt kids' growth. And I don't know if you guys have heard this before.
yeah,
Um
yeah.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot actually. Yeah.
yeah. I'll go on the record saying that like there's no reason to believe it's gonna stunt kids' growth.
Where does that
But we
come?
do need to understand.
Where does that come from?
Um, so the place I believe it comes from, and like most of my exercise science friends, it was probably like the early 1900s or so, like when weightlifting started more.
Mhm.
Um, the it's basically a bunch of parents who were scared of their kids getting hurt. So that they were like, okay, it's gonna stunt their growth. And the idea of them it's stunting their growth is you see like gymnasts and like powerful weightlifters, and they're all like shorter.
Mhm.
And that's not because like it makes them shorter. It's because like if you're built, it's like if you're built for weightlifting and you're built for gymnastics, you're gonna like that's the build for that. It's just like saying like that's like saying basketball makes you taller because taller people are generally playing basketball more. See, basketball doesn't make you taller. You guys like we don't hear that a lot. Um, but like people who are taller generally are it's easier for them to be better at basketball because like that's just the build for basketball.
So it's like natural selection just for height and
Yeah, it's exactly, yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
was saying
and like
100%
there's
sounded like that.
yeah. So it's like there's not actually like I've never seen solid research that says that it's like stunt kids growth. But what you do want to be careful of is like you don't want to obviously you don't want to load kids up super heavy if they're not ready for the load. Like they have to be able to learn proper form. They have to be able to like perform the movement that you're trying to train them in properly well over time, and then you can start to load it more and more. But it often takes a little bit longer with kids to learn form and to learn like how to handle loads, and
Mhm.
that's okay. I just say to like parents like as long as they can follow instructions and like be attentive and not be running all over the weight room and stuff like they can train like as long as they can follow directions they're fine.
Would
um
you would you say there's an age restriction on lifting though? Like, would you say that okay, if you're not this age, you shouldn't be lifting?
um I think in general like obviously with kids like I said I try to play games with the younger people are the more games I try to incorporate. So
Yeah.
like I've trained like 7 8 year olds before and it's like it's great and like most of the time we're learning through play, like we're learning through things that they're enjoying, through things that they're just trying new movements out where I'm like creating a game where they think it's just a game, but I'm trying to get them to do certain movements to get ready for certain movement patterns. So that's generally like the younger you are, the more bulk of the games and stuff it is for me. Obviously, we'll still throw some other stuff in there. Obviously, it depends on the kid because some kids like they're mature at 7 and they can follow the instructions. They can, they can move their bodies like a little bit more controlled and that they can just like mentally be focused on what you're saying. some kids they don't get that until they're 12 or 13. So like it totally depends. I would say probably before like 7 or 8, you generally don't get that type of maturity, but it's really based more on maturity than like the actual age.
Okay. At what, so would you say that the younger a kid is, the more you focus on maybe just body positioning and them being able to move their body without using extra weights, like just them being comfortable with the movement of their body?
Yes, for sure. Yeah, we like rarely use weights for the younger people are we rarely use external loads. Sometimes like kids they're like really excited to lift some weights. So I'll give them some like smaller weights and we'll do some sets with something like that just because it'll get them engaged and they're like really excited about it. But the bulk of what we're doing is we're just teaching them different movement patterns so that they can react and respond in different ways so that they're building the foundations. Like we're not trying to build a bunch of muscle on a kid, but we're trying to get them comfortable as movers so that when they're playing their sport, they feel more confident that they can move around and they can cut and change directions. Um, but those foundations are really essential, especially like if they're going to be in the weight room. If they want to be a high level athlete when they're older, you have to build that foundation when you're young, so that they can build off of that. Like if they already know how to do these foundational movements, it's a lot easier to build that foundation as they get older.
I see. I see.
Yeah, agree with that. I'll say, and then now that you've been training different kids for a while now, like, have you noticed some muscle groups that are more so like that you kind of usually see like kids haven't worked on as much, or like people need to kind of understand with like different fine motor movements?
Um, this is actually like one of my favorite topics.
Okay.
My my favorite muscle group, and I think this is one of the most overlooked muscle groups in the body for anybody, but you see it a lot with kids. Is the glute medius.
Yeah.
So it's not like the glute that you normally think about. It's the one that's kind of more on the side, and it like externally rotates your hips. It helps you to move laterally and rotate your hip outside. So I could show you guys on a model and stuff, but really like so from like the oldest person to the youngest person, it's really important. So I'll just go from like the top down. Like with the elderly, it kind of stabilizes your hips. So like as people are walking, if their hips aren't stabilized, they're going to be leaning to one side or the other as they step, and that's going to cause a lot more falls. They have a
Mm,
lot less stability. That's a problem for when you're older, of course. um, when you're kind of like middle aged and you're like playing sports or you're trying to like be active with your kids, like as you're running, those hips is they need to be strong to stabilize your trunk so that you're not gonna fall and you're gonna be able to change direction, move quickly. That's important as we get to athletes as well. It's like super important for moving laterally, like I said, but also preventing that knee valgus. So if you guys ever seen like people squat and their knees come in together,
Mhm.
that's not inherently like the worst thing, but
Really?
it's something we can help a lot with the glute medius training because the hips are controlling the knees. The knees only listen to either the feet or the hips. So there's either one of those two things coming together, and the hips are generally leading the movement. So if the hips are telling the knees to come in, that's going to move the feet in, put the knee at a compromised position, and move the foot into a compromised position, which is all those type of things we don't want. It's also going to help you with just power development. If it'll help your hips just power through for like speed and control while you're in that fast position. So um, I definitely say the glute medius. I say that for like everything. I mention the glute medius as much as I possibly can because it's my favorite muscle.
When it comes
Um,
to the glute medius, though, is it increasing the strength of that muscle or increasing the range of motion of that muscle, or
mm,
both?
so the range of motion is not as important as far as the glute medius goes because it's a lot more of a stabilizer muscle. So if you think of like your legs, they're together here. What it does is it brings the leg out. So like if you're gonna stand on one leg and bring your leg out to the side, it's like that, and where it's gonna come out as far as you can. So that movement itself it's important, but it's not as important as what happens when that foot is planted to keep the pelvis stable, so that your whole trunk can be stable. Because as you're running, you plant on that one foot, If that glute medius on that one leg that's working, stabilizing, isn't stabilizing correctly, you're going to be falling to that one side.
Wow. Okay.
I know that.
Yeah, because even with the training that we've been doing as pro athletes, we're always taught that that range of motion is like the
Yeah, it's everything for you.
yeah, but
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
but the way you just explained that, it does make sense though in terms of like the more the stability and
Yeah.
trunk opening, man. But
Right.
so there's also, let me know if this is true, Ryan. There's a colloquialism that everything starts within the hips and works outward. Would you say that's accurate, or is there truth to that, or?
Yeah. Like generally, like what I said, like the knees listen to the hips. So what the hips are powering through and telling them to do, it
Mhm.
generally goes through as far as lower body movements go. You definitely have a lot of that core as well. So, and I'm not just talking abs. I'm talking like your whole core, like from your lower back, from your the muscles that run all the way down your spine, your obliques, like the side of your abs. Those are kind of really important just to stabilize. Like I always say, my favorite core exercise ever is sprinting because you have to stabilize all the time. Because if you're sprinting correctly, you're going to be like flying all over the place and like you're going to feel like you're falling over.
Mhm.
And how do you feel like you're not falling over? Well, your core has to be strong and stable. Um, so that's definitely some part of it too. But I think as far as like power and like driving through, the hips are really important as far as like the glutes go, and then those hip flexors to get the drive the knees up. So like I think that's a very it's a good statement that the hips kind of drive power for sure.
In Ryan, real quickly, there is a we've all been college athletes, so we know that there's a huge emphasis on Olympic lifting in college
Mm.
for basketball players. And I believe it's because there's just a lack of resources. So it's easier to get a group of 15 guys together and say, okay, everyone do 3 sets of 15 on cleans. And like, it's just more easier to organize it that way. But do you think that there's a necessity for, let's say, basketball players to do those type of Olympic lifts, like
I
clean?
don't think there's a necessity for it.
Mhm.
I think you can get a lot of other work in to kind of replace those Olympic lifts. Not that Olympic lifts are bad, like they're great as far as like working the whole body, the ankle, the knee, and the hip together. We like that's really important as far as like working that coordination
Mhm.
of all three of those together. So they're good. The problem is they take so long to teach.
Mhm.
So like in a college and sometimes in a pro setting, like where all your athletes probably know it already, or that they might know it already. Maybe you have one or two who like really struggle, and like it's gonna be a little bit easier to make that happen. But it is like because it's so hard to teach, and there's so many ways to kind of do it wrong. I think your time is better spent focusing on other power development tools, um, like you like doing just um, jump different jumps, step jumps. You can do weighted jumps. Like you can do different like med ball slams, med ball throws, med ball tosses, and you can work the body through different ranges as well and like different planes of motion. And one of my big things is that there's three planes of motion in the body. There's a sagittal plane where you're moving forward and back, kind of up and down, forward and back. Like if you're walking forward or backwards, that's the sagittal plane. You have the frontal plane where you're moving side to side, kind of like defensive slides. So think of that. That's how you're moving in the frontal plane. Then you have the transverse plane where you're thinking like on an axis, you're like spinning around, like you're in a chair and you're just spinning. Um, and oftentimes we're only working power. We're only working all those joints through the sagittal plane. Where if we're doing a clean, we're only going up and down. That's only that forward and back motion.
Mhm.
But we never work to twist or to like turn and go to the side, anything like that, which is really important in sport like basketball because okay, you're twisting and you're going moving side to side all the time, and those planes of motion aren't just one, two, or three. it's like they're all mixed together. Because sometimes you're moving forward, then maybe you go for a spin move, and it's totally different. But you're moving in all three planes at the same time. So we need to like train that way as well. And I think oftentimes our weight room work gets removed from our actual skill work. And we forget that like, okay, we're basketball players, so we need to learn to move all these ways. So like there is a purpose for Olympic lifts and they're good, but I think our time could be better spent other places.
Okay.
Wow. Yeah.
Let's see. And no, no, never mind. Shot, you got any more? You got another one?
I could go on and on, man. Yeah.
Oh, I was say, yeah.
Yeah. So Ryan, because the reason I bring that up is because I personally I've noticed a huge difference in terms of how they're teaching us to work out and live in college as opposed to the professional level. And I noticed specifically as a pro, is primarily during the preseason is when we focus on more of like that power and more of the
Mm.
we don't do a lot of Olympic lifts, but we might do bench press or squats. But something I'm
Mm-hmm.
trying is that two specific things. When we do squats, it's never with just the bar, it's normally on the Smith machine.
Mm.
And then when we do bench press, it's very rarely with the bar and it's with dumbbells. And what do you think of it? Do you think there's a legitimate reason behind that? Because they tell us it's because it's so we can learn to focus on being strong with both hands as opposed to just that one bar. And for the Smith machine, it's so we don't put too much pressure on our knees.
Um, there's definitely a reason for both, and there's no useless equipment in the gym. It's just like we need to know when is the right time to use it. So, like you said, like in that preseason, we're trying to build that like kind of that foundation, that strength, that power, and that's not something you want to do right before a game, but
Mhm.
that is something that's going to help keep you safe throughout the season if you have that like that extra bit of strength and power as you're going. As far as like the dumbbells go, yeah, you definitely want to have both sides just as strong, and like dumbbells help with that because in a bench press you definitely can try to um, go too hard with one side, and that's how you can get a lot more shoulder issues. Like if you're trying to push through with one side more than the other, probably your dominant side, you're going to end up with more issues like that. They're definitely trying to keep you safe, as you guys. I mean, your bodies are part of your job. Like you got to take care of your body to take care of your life. So
Mhm.
I think like safety and giving you guys things that are definitely going to be safe are really important. So definitely nothing against the dumbbells. I would just say something I would love to do as far as like dumbbells go,
Yeah.
is not have both of them at the same time. I do this with like pretty much everybody where I only have one dumbbell on one side,
Yeah.
and it doesn't just work that arm. You're also working that your core because you have probably 40 pounds on one side, so your body wants to turn to that side.
Yeah.
So your core really has to stabilize to keep you on the bench while you're pushing up and down. So just gives you more of a challenge, more of like some sort of difficulty and engage more muscles as well. And then obviously you get the other side done as well.
I
That's
guess
something I love to do.
you wouldn't
Um,
go too heavy with that weight though, right? In that example.
no, no, yeah. I mean, you definitely want to give yourself something that's going to be like something that's going to be difficult, where like because if it's not anything hard at all, like if you're doing 15 pounds, you're not feeling anything. Well, you're not going to get anything out of that. But you also want to make sure you can control the weight, and it's not gonna take you over.
Yeah. When it comes to the intensity of your workouts, Ryan, do you treat all of your clients the same, or is there a little bit of nuance between how you treat each client depending on their skill set or their age?
Oh, it's totally different for everyone, man. It's
Yeah.
it's like a it's like a totally different protocol and different um just kind of different outlook for everybody. I try my best to like take a little while. I guess the best way to kind of explain this would be we do at the end of every workout, we do an RPE, which you probably have heard of before. It's like for us, we do it on a 5-point scale, and you can do decimals. But on a 5 point scale, how much did the workout take out of you? So like if
Mm.
five is like, okay, I can't move at all, like I can't even go home right now. And zero is like we didn't work out at all. Like where are you at on that? So before every workout, I kind of give people like when I'm writing up my workouts, I give myself like a target where I'm like, I want it to be a 3.5 today.
Mhm.
Um, and generally it'll be in within the three range. Once we get to the fours, you're getting really difficult. Once you're when you're in the threes, you're getting to that point where you get a good stimulus, but it's not like too difficult. Um, I'll often give people somewhere in the twos if like you can tell they've had a stressful week. We don't want to put too much stress on the body. You can tell, or they have a game coming up that they're trying to prepare for, where we're gonna move. We're gonna work on different movement patterns, but it's not gonna be super difficult. Somewhere in the twos for that. Um, but like so for one of my clients that's like not an athlete, that they're just trying to stay fit and like work hard, like we'll probably stay kind of in the threes or so. With some of my athletes that are like really trying to do intense workouts, and like they need it for their sport. Like sometimes we'll sprinkle in a four or something like that, but I'm never gonna like throw a four at them and then do it again and do it again. Like I'm gonna
Yeah.
like kind of sprinkle it in there where it's like, okay, if it's gonna be really hard one day, I'm not gonna like the next day give it just as hard, because I understand like I don't want to burn them out. So it definitely depends, like especially with the younger kids, I'm trying to keep it on the lighter side where they're having fun, they're enjoying it. I want to give them a good concept of fitness where they're like, okay, I want to come back to this, I want to keep going. And but when as they get older and they realize like, okay, we need to go, sometimes like I'm like, hey, we're gonna go for a 4.5 today, and it's gonna be really hard, and let's go all out, man. So it definitely depends, but it's kind of fun to see like when we need to do what kind of workout and how intense it needs to be.
Okay, so you do have an idea then going into each workout. Okay, this is the intensity I want it to be at.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
so
for sure.
is there a listen? Because just like with parents, parents always say they don't have a favorite child, but we all know that parents they have their favorites. So just like when it comes to training, like,
Yeah.
man, do you have a preference? Do you have a favorite age group that you like working with when it comes to training?
um, I definitely say like basketball players are like probably my favorite people to train, just because that's kind of where I came from.
Mhm.
That's where I like that's kind of the background that I was talking about. Like this is it's kind of why I do what I do, because I think about that kid that just like overthinks and like has all the skills but doesn't have like the confidence that he can go out there and be strong and do what he needs to do. And that's kind of like the kids that I really want to work with, because I know the struggle. Like it's a mental battle. It's such a mental battle. And one of the things I love about training so much is you just get to talk to the kids. You kind of get to encourage them and be like, hey dude, you're doing a good job with this. And it's kind of like it's really cool to see when they pick up on that and they're like, oh, this is like I can do this.
Mhm.
And that's kind of what I want to see. Like, so I love it when like I have a player. It doesn't have to be basketball. Like that's probably like my top favorite. But all athletes are super fun. Um, that just like kind of overthinks or in some way or isn't confident, and then we can just like build that confidence in them.
Mhm. Like you
Yeah.
like you said, the Ryan, it's really about that connection, and you start to become less of a trainer and more of a therapist in a sense,
Yeah.
man. And was that something that you were aware of when you first got into this profession, or that's something that was new for you?
Definitely not. Definitely not something I was aware of. I mean, I'm not upset about it at all. I really do appreciate it. Some of the people I've been training for the longest time, like they're coming in and like we're just talking the whole time. We're just talking life, and I'm just trying to like, especially some of my younger athletes, I'm just trying to like pour into them and be like, give them confidence.
Mhm.
That's like that's become like I love the training side. Like I've said, like I love the movement side, but that's probably one of my favorite parts of the job. Is just to encourage these kids, and I mean even adults, is like life is hard. There's things going on. So I think it's really really cool when I can build that relationship and you can just come in like we're gonna get a good workout and well we can just talk and like whatever you need, man, I'm here for you.
Something I've noticed is that it's not the most knowledgeable trainers, it's not the even the most qualified trainers that get these clients and that have the best success, but it's the ones that know how to communicate with their clients, the ones that have the best
Mm,
people. Um, I say that from experience, and I say that from just watching other people because
hmm
trainers that, in my perspective, I feel aren't the most qualified in terms of the things that they're teaching, but they're just so good with people. They know how to communicate, they know how to ask questions, they know how to listen, and those are the ones
yeah,
that get them or have the most quote unquote success. I've noticed. Yeah, but
yeah, for sure, totally agree.
Ryan, do you think so? So it's safe to say basketball players are more your preference. Um, have you noticed a difference between how athletes listen depending on the sport they play? So like basketball players, football players, volleyball, softball. Does one type of athlete tend to listen better than others, or is it all just more of a common slate?
I wouldn't say that like a type of athlete tends to listen better, but there's definitely like there's markers that you want to lean into. So I'll give the example like my cousin plays softball, and I've been training her for years. And like with my basketball players, I'll use terminology that they'll really lean into. Where we're talking about like defensive slides, or we're talking about finishing. Like she's not gonna understand that type of stuff because she's playing a totally different sport. And when I talk about like rotation with her and powering through with like her hips as far as like her swing goes, when I talk about like taking care of her throwing shoulder and things like that, um, there's a lot more buy-in. So we need, and I just need to learn to like, the more I can talk about and like relate to their sport, the more that they're like, okay, this is cool. So I wouldn't say like it's a specific type of athlete, but the more that I can kind of lean into their sport and what they do, the more that they'll kind of listen and be like, okay, I like that and buy into it.
And I was gonna ask, especially I know you work a lot with like people, the active portion of I guess taking care of your body. Do you think a lot of people know how to like properly rest their body, especially athletes? Because I would say that a lot of times I see people get hurt is from just overuse. Do you kind of
Yeah.
teach your athletes how to like rest and not just like rest, but just like I want to say actively rest, like do
hmm
something different for the day and just kind of like chill out for the rest of the day? Like, do you put an emphasis on that to the people you train?
Yeah. I mean, I really try. It's super, super hard. I mean, I don't even know if I definitely don't know how to fully take care of myself as far as recovery goes. And I'm just training for fun now. But there's definitely some principles that are really applicable no matter what. I've heard, the analogy I like to use is that like if you're trying to fill a jar with a bunch of rocks and you have like these big rocks, you have some medium rocks, you have some like small rocks. The goal is that you put the big rocks in first. And there's some like really big rocks as far as recovery goes that a lot of people like ignore. I ignore a lot. The biggest one is sleep.
Mm.
Um, I that's something I ignore the most. Like I'll be like, it's fine, and I'll sleep 5 hours, and then I wonder why I'm not recovering. But sleep is like the biggest rock. It's huge. The second one is nutrition. That's another big rock. The food that we put into our bodies either causes inflammation or helps get rid of inflammation. So we need to be cognizant of kind of how we're like filling up, because we need fuel, especially after we're working out. But we need to make sure it's the right stuff that's going to build us up so that we can recover the best. Um, Another big rock is hydration. We've all heard that a lot, but something people are like, it's not that important. Like we'll move past that. Those are some of the like really big rocks, and then you get into like the smaller stuff. Like those big rocks take up like 90% of the jar, and you can probably be all right with pretty much those three things if you lock in on those three things. But we try to like overcomplicate it and move on to these other things where it's like, oh, like ice baths and red light and massage guns and foam rolling, and those can all be great things. Like there's good research behind all of those. But if we don't have those big rocks in first, they're not going to help very much.
Mm.
So that's kind of what I say. So I definitely like I try to put an emphasis on it. But it's really hard to get people to buy into it because it's that 23 hours of the day that you're not in the gym. Like people want to lock in for 1 hour and then they're done. They don't want to be locked in on their nutrition, their sleep, and their hydration and stuff for the rest of the day. So that's one of my like biggest struggles is trying to feed that through to people without like pushing it onto them. But it's pretty simple. It's just keeping those the main thing the main thing.
Keep the main thing.
Mm,
I like that.
mm,
Real quick, Ryan. So you talked a little bit about the diet and what you put into your body. There's been a huge wave of athletes, specifically pro athletes, that are transitioning towards veganism or vegetarianism. Do you think there's any validity to that, or would you say that it's just a fad?
Um, so I'll take this. So I did this study last year. I have asthma, so it's something that like throughout my whole life it was kind of something I kind of lived with. And it's not like anything bad where I couldn't play basketball or anything, but I was just curious because it seemed like some things that I ate kind of affected me in that. And asthma is often affected when you eat higher inflammatory foods like fast foods and stuff like that.
mm,
It's gonna be like pushing more of that stuff where it's gonna bother you. And that's not just with asthma, but it's with like everybody. But you see it more in like a case with like asthma or eczema or something like that. So it's kind of easier to study. So they found that like those that ate more of like a Mediterranean diet, like kind of like what you're a Mediterranean diet is not exactly like veganism, but we're talking like a lot more fruits and vegetables. It was very helpful just to kind of remove that inflammation, and it really opened up the airways. So we're not just talking airways here in asthma, but we're talking just like with everybody. Just to remove that inflammation, it can be really helpful to like increase the fruits and vegetables and like those types of like really healthy foods.
Mm,
But with that said, we need a lot of protein, especially as a pro athlete. Like you need a lot of protein. You're gonna be you might be like maintaining weight, but if you're not eating a lot of protein, you're gonna be losing muscle, and that's gonna be really affecting you throughout the year. So I would say like it is more to that Mediterranean diet where we're trying to avoid some of that higher inflammatory foods like the ultra processed foods and like some like red meats and stuff like are more on that. I wouldn't avoid those altogether, but I think I think you have to have a balance where like you're really into those like those high levels of fruits and vegetables and like healthy grains and those type of things that are gonna really push that inflammation out of you and help with like recovering from injuries with if you have different problems like asthma or things like that. But you also need that protein, so like getting chicken in because it's hard to get the protein that you need um, when you're not eating any meat. So it's definitely
mm.
that balance because I mean if you can find a way to get enough protein in while being on a vegan diet, like more power to you. But that's like very difficult.
mhm. I always like to use this example, Ryan. A good friend of mine from high school, his name was Joey Marino. He actually did cheerleading at Florida State. And he was allergic to meat. But if you were to look at him, it would look like he was just like from a sculpture. So for someone,
Yeah.
say there's someone that doesn't eat meat or is vegetarian or vegan, how would they get their protein?
So I mean, there's a lot of sources. I mean, a lot of people you can do like protein supplements, like I mean, protein shakes. That's probably where a lot of people get their extra protein, which is not a bad thing at all. It just depends. Like you don't want to have a protein shake that has a ton of sugar in it or anything like that. But those type of things are good. You can get lots of protein through like um, different sources, like your nuts and seeds and type of stuff that they have protein, but there's also fat that comes along with that too.
Mhm.
Um, so there's like I mean dairy products have a lot of protein. That's probably where that kind of comes from. You can get whey protein, what I was talking about with it, those shakes. So if you're eating a lot of calories and you're getting those lots of nuts and seeds and those type of things, you can end up getting that protein in, but it's just you're going to end up getting a lot of calories as well, which is not a problem, especially if you're an athlete because you're going to be burning a ton of calories. Um, and a lot of athletes are trying to gain weight and build that muscle, so it's not a big deal. But it's just like it takes a toll on you to be eating that much.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Um, because I just recently started to become a vegetarian, and that's why I was very interested with your thoughts on it and what you thought about it, because I've
Yeah.
noticed that at first when I started, I felt like I was a little low on energy, like I wasn't getting enough perhaps calories or carbs, but after about 2.5 weeks, I started to feel much better. I started to feel lighter. The
Mm,
recovery started to feel faster. I wouldn't be as tired after workouts. So just from only perspective and personal experience, I do believe there's some validity to it. But also, like you said, Brian, you have to get what you're missing from the meat. So like your proteins and your B12. So I have to take a B12 supplement
yeah.
now.
Oh
So
yeah.
there are some other things that you still have to get that does come from meat. But yeah, I want to just know your thoughts on that.
Yeah. No, my doctor, I'm glad you're taking that B12. My doctor said one time he's like, if people could only take one like supplement, like he's not just my doctor, but I've taken classes from him and everything. But he's like, if people could only take one supplement in their life, I wouldn't be a multivitamin, it'd be B12. And I'm like, wow, that's really interesting. So it's
Yeah.
really really important. Don't need to get into all that, but it's really really important.
Yeah, yeah. I uh I agree with your doctor, man, because I didn't realize how important it was until I started doing some research on it too. And it's like
Yeah,
you said,
man,
if you could only recommend one vitamin, man, or one supplement, definitely B12, man.
it'd be that.
Putting
Yeah, for
B12 on the
sure.
list. There we
B12
go.
on straight.
Yeah,
There we go,
B12 is on the
man.
list.
Yes, sir.
Definitely. So Ryan, man, what would you say is the overall, what's your overall goal, man, with your business and with your training, man? What's your goal? What's your desired outcome, man?
So our mission statement as far as a gym goes is we're not actually like built for athletes. Though those are like my people I like to train. My cousin and I kind of run this together.
Mhm.
So our goal is to help young adults to build fitness confidence because there's so much like information out there about like you should do this, you shouldn't do that, and we end up like kind of paralyzed because there's so much information, and it's like okay, my thought is like okay, after like high school or after college, at some point like we stop playing sports and we stop working out, and what is it that like makes us want to go back? And what is it that makes us want to keep moving? Because we all know like we should, but like what is it that makes us do that? And most people are like going to go back because like okay, they want to lose this weight, or they want to build this muscle, and like those are good things, and I'm here to help people with that. But like my problem with that is like it ends up being very selfish.
Mm,
We can like put a lot of pride and like being like I want to look this way so that people see me this way, and like that's not what I'm here for. I'm not here so like you can like make everybody look at you, and I'm not here so like everybody can be like hey, you're looking great. Like those can be good things, but I think we need to have a deeper purpose. Like if you can move so that you can go and play with your kids a lot longer, and you can go on a hike with your family, and you can go play games with your family, that's much more important to me. Like if you can show up for the people that you love better because you've been working out, because you've been training, then that's a win for me. Like obviously we want to be losing weight, we want to be building muscle because that's going to help you with longevity. But if people come to me and they tell me like I only want to do this because I want people to like look at me, I'm gonna be like, that's great. I'm not gonna help you. Like we need to go somewhere else. We need to have a deeper purpose. Um, because there's this I struggle with this like in college as I was stopping basketball, and I was like I don't even want to work out because I feel so selfish. It feels like the only way I can work out is for me, and like I don't want to do it for me. Like I want to do it so that I can help other people. So I had to like build this foundation on like how do we train for like the goal of helping other people as well. So like that's like the thing I say all the time. Like, how can we show up for other people better by what we do? Show up for other people longer. Like my parents are trained so that they can pick up their grandkids and like spend time with their grandkids. Like that's a win. That's a much greater win than like, all right, hey, this person's looking at me over here. So that's kind of what our business is all about. Like we're targeting towards that audience, but I definitely have that like that me personally dipping into that like that young athlete basketball thing as well. Like I'm working with the Girl Botham's team right now. Their basketball team. I just love training basketball teams like that. So that's something like I have a goal of taking on more basketball teams and helping them with that. But our main goal as a business is that young adult kind of vision.
I love what you said, Ryan, about having a
Yeah.
deep purpose, man, because anything that's just physical is superficial and it's gonna end eventually. Everything the physical has an expiration date. But
Mm-hmm.
I like what you said, when you're able to go deeper, man, you find that bigger purpose and probably brings you more fulfillment too while you're training and while you're working out. Definitely.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
But Ryan, what is the name of your for those who don't know, what is the name of your guys' business and where are you guys based out of? Like what locations do you normally tend to work out in terms of area?
Yeah, so we're in Northern Virginia, Springfield area. So we're like just 20, 30 minutes outside of DC. So kind of crazy times. But we like I said back at the very beginning, we were talking about like, okay, so we've been training people for a little bit now, and what do we want to make this like? Do we want to make this a thing? And like I said, I did this with my cousin, um, and so we're both the Spinellos. So we were like, we kind of somebody just threw the idea out there of Spin's Gym,
Mm.
and my dad actually coached one of my high school basketball teams. He was like one of the assistant coach, and we used to call him Coach Spin. And I was like, I kind of like that. I kind of like that. It kind of has a ring to it. So we went with Spin's Gym, um, and we're all trying to be based on science because we want to have kind of like a base in science wherever something is. Not that like has to be 100% proven before we do it, but we want to have a base in like there has to be some sort of thing to back us up in why we do what we do. We're Spence Gym. We're just outside of DC. We do in-person training. Our goal is to our main thing that we do is we do specialized training for people. So whatever your goals are, we're gonna try and focus on those. I don't want anybody to be in a cookie cutter program where it's just like I do these things over here, and these 10 people are also doing the exact same thing you are. Sometimes those are good, and we have some sort of that type of stuff. But the main bread and butter of what we do is that specialized training. And then we also do like online training with people as well, where we call and check in and send them workouts and stuff.
Nice, nice. The online portion is huge, man. I've noticed that's a growing phase of the personal training industry, man.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I'm trying to get more and more into it. It's not my specialty, the technology and everything, but I know it's somewhere I need to go to be able to help more people.
Definitely, definitely. Well, Ryan, man, hey, Ryan, it's been such a blessing, man, just to have you on the show. And I know you have so much more information that you can share with us, man. And we definitely have to have you back on the show again, man. And Ryan, I know you've seen our shows before, so as we close out, we like to give a couple of shout outs. Or if there are any shout outs that you want to give, man, please feel free to do that right now.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just shout out my man Jeevan. He's kind of the reason we got connected here. So
Absolutely.
he's coaching the basketball team. Super proud of him. I got to coach him last year as like one of his assistant coaches, and he's coaching the AU team right now, and it's called Crossover to Christ. So they're trying to have a
Oh,
strong Christian culture, and I just love it. I'm super proud of him, and I'm just trying to support him in any way possible. So super proud of him. That's definitely somebody I want to shout out there. Yeah.
Definitely. Dre, is there any shout outs you want to give, man, before we close out?
shout out to you, the fans. Shout out to you guys. Shout out to Ryan for making the time for us. We really do appreciate this, man. Seriously. And
Yeah,
then,
I'm super thankful for it.
no, seriously. And then shout out to you, Kashawn. Wouldn't want to do this without you. Um, that's about it for me today.
Perfect.
I don't have any more shout outs right now. Yeah.
like Dre said, man, Brian, first of all, shout out to you, man, because this is, in my opinion, one of probably the best episodes we've ever done, man. And it's all totally because of your insight, your knowledge, man. And we're just so grateful to have you on here, man. And Dre, shout out to you, man. Like you said, man, I wouldn't want to do this with anyone else, man. And like I said, shout out to the fans as well, because without them, none of this is possible. And also, man, I just want to give all credit, glory to God as well, because He woke us up this morning, gave us some breath in our life, in our lungs as well, and just taking it day by day, man, one step at a time, man. But that's all my shout outs for today, guys. But guys, man, amazing, amazing episode, Ryan. Thank you so much for being on. Once again, guys, if you guys want to get more information about Ryan or even book a session with him, look up Spence Gyms on Instagram, right, Ryan?
Yes,
Yep.
sir.
You guys have a website as well and LinkedIn
Yep.
and perfect. Yep. And so we will tag all of Ryan's and Spend Jim's information on the post on our Instagram. But guys, yes, thank you so much for tuning in. It's been a wonderful episode. We'll be back again next month with another podcast episode. Until then, continue to stay safe, make smart decisions, be vigilant, and peace.